Ecology commencement ceremony. Today we mark the 19th year of our environmental program at UNC. It's also the 48th year since UNC faculty created the Ecology graduate program. We hold this ceremony to recognize our exceptional students and to give their families and friends the opportunity to celebrate their achievements. Much will be said over the next several days about the importance of your college experience and all that you have accomplished. You will be given counsel about how to face the coming years, especially in these turbulent times. I want to speak briefly about what we, as the faculty in Environment Ecology, hope that you will take with you. During the past 4 years, you have taken our classes, conducted research in laboratories, developed a strong sense of public service to communities, the state, the nation, and the world. Maybe you were able to work in an internship, or you studied abroad. Perhaps you participated in one of the field site immersion programs located on the coast or in the mountains. We are proud to have participated in your education at UNC, and we have great aspirations for you. Some of you may associate your UNC experience with data and terminology, with experiments and long laboratory periods, with detailed discussion and analysis of scientific papers, and with last-minute study sessions. During this journey, you acquired skills that form the basis for a successful future, including leadership, the ability to communicate ideas and solve problems, to work independently or as part of a team, the ability to work with large data sets or to argue a point of view effectively. We hope, however, that as you reflect on your experience, that you are left with more. As students studying at the intersection of the natural and social sciences, we hope that in addition to facts and figures, names and theories, you leave with an appreciation for the magnificence of the environment around us. There are incredible opportunities for making the world a better place, whether you work in water resources, energy, smart cities, urban farming, food security. The opportunities are boundless. You have opened our eyes along the way as well, showing us how you can merge business and communities and the environment, such as Nourish, a social justice organization started by students using social innovation to serve communities. You have discovered a passion for real food and the importance of making good food available for everyone, how this reduces healthcare costs and saves our country money. As student scientists, we hope you leave as critical thinkers who use the skills you developed over 4 years of study to evaluate information carefully. We live in a society that is sometimes fearful of science and at times inundated with superstition and irrational thought. We hope you understand cause and effect and the relationship between data and theories. We hope that whenever you are called upon to make an important decision based on critical assessment of information and process, you will recall some of what you have learned with us. Use these skills to be better citizens and to make the world a better place. As scholars, we hope that you will take away a love of learning and a love of sharing this knowledge. The world, physical, ecological, human, will always be full of mystery. There will always be something to learn. We hope that you will seek to understand just a little bit about this world throughout your life. Finally, as your friends, we hope that your future is rich and fulfilling. We offer you our heartiest congratulations and our most sincere best wishes. So with this, parents, I would like to introduce some of our faculty that are present. Perhaps after the ceremony, if you want to meet some of these people that you've heard about for the past 4 years. So I'll start with Dr. Alan Hurlbert. He's a professor in biology. Dr. Christopher Martins is a professor in marine science. We have dedicated advisors and teaching faculty here as well. Doctors Bell, Cook, and Ganji have counseled these students for most of their time at UNC, helping them navigate the university, offering guidance on courses, keeping students informed about summer internships and jobs, offering advice about graduate school, writing letters of recommendation. So I'd like to introduce Dr. Jeff Bell. He's our Dr. Greg Ganji. And I'd like to welcome two new teaching faculty to our ceremony. Dr. Lama Bufajwardin and Dr. Leda Gerber Van. So we have a special guest today, and I'm going to ask Dr. Greg Ganji to come forward and introduce her to you. Greg?
It's my pleasure today to introduce Liza Shiloh. Liza was a student of mine back in the past decade, and back then I was the only advisor in the program, so I knew all the students really well, which meant that some students know I could push rather hard. Back then there was nowhere to run. I was the only shop in town. Liza was a lot of fun. She came in really magnetic personality. Our major has grown somewhat. Back then there was a really strong sense of community in the major, and Liza was part of the glue from the get-go that held us together. But I hope Liza won't mind me saying she wasn't always the most sterling student. And I took an interest in her. I thought if she would just get involved in some experiential education program, we'd turn the corner and she'd, really live up to all that promise. But there was always something that stood in the way, and that was rugby. I'd be like, Liza, you can do an internship, you can work in a lab. And she was like, can't do, I have rugby practice every day at 3 to whatever. And so time went by, and one day I saw Liza on crutches. She had torn her ACL, and I said, I'm sorry to see that, but there's a silver you'll get into some experiential education program. And Liza had other intentions. She did a quick rehabilitation and went back to rugby. A year later, I see her on crutches again. This time it's the other ACL. And I say, well, this time? And she says, yeah, I have to. My mother said she'll kill me. So I didn't quite get her into a lab or into research. Liza, again, had her own ideas. She instead dedicated her spare time to creating the first national honors environmental fraternity here on campus, Epsilon Eta. There are now chapters at many different universities, and I think it's important to mention because her legacy lives on. Many of our graduates today have been part of this organization, have founded a way to help strengthen community within the major. So even though she graduated in 2007, her legacy has lived on with a lot of you, what she did, her accomplishments. So after graduation, Liza found her way to DC, where she worked for a congressman for a while, for 3 years, and she was involved in the International Conservation Caucus. But then she, after 3 years, decided it was time to go back to graduate school. And I'm not sure if I dare mention where she decided to go, but it's about 8 miles down the road. And at that university, which I dare not mention, she earned a dual degree, a master's in business administration from the Fuqua School, and she also earned a master's in environmental management from the Nicholas School of the Environment. Then, upon graduation, she went to work at Levi Strauss. And at Levi Strauss, she's the manager for product sustainability, and her role at Levi Strauss is making sure that the company's climate change strategy moves forward, and she is in charge of overseeing sustainable raw materials strategy for the company. Now, I know a lot of students here today are graduating and going on to work for renewable energy companies, looking to help create the industries of the future. But I think what's really interesting, what Liza's been doing, she's working for perhaps the oldest industry on the planet with complicated supply chains and trying to green those supply chains. So you don't have to go work for a Strata or a Cypress Creek or a NextEra to have a big impact on shaping the future. In her spare time, she likes to hang out in San Francisco's parks. She's a big fan of bulldogs. She mountain bikes. And she wants everybody to know that, yes, she does wear blue jeans to work every day. It's a pleasure to have Liza as our commencement.
Made me blush. Should I shout? Can you guys hear me? All right, thank you.
Testing.
Great. Oh, hi, class of 2018. How nice is it to hear those words? I can't tell you how happy I am to be back in Tar Heel country and speaking to you this morning. I got in last night from San Francisco, as Greg mentioned, which is a wonderful place, but there is truly nothing like North Carolina. There's nothing like Chapel Hill. The beauty and warmth of this place. My office actually calls me the one-woman chamber of commerce for Asheville, which is where I'm from. So that's fine by me. I grew up here. I made some of my best friends here in Greg's coral reef ecology class, actually. I even learned a little about basketball here. Thanks for not knowing part of that introduction. But just give it a few years and then come back. You may be ready to bolt out this door right now. I was there. But the beauty of this place and what it's meant to you will call you back, and it will welcome you back. That's Southern hospitality. So I was asked to speak to you this morning, not because I'm at the sunset of my career, hopefully not my peak either. I believe I was asked because I remember what the leap was like from school into the real world. It was about 10 years ago, and jobs weren't particularly easy to find, especially in our field. I couldn't be happier with where I am today, but my path is not a linear one. For that matter, my current position isn't anywhere where I imagined I would be when I was sitting where you guys are this morning. But I'm absolutely sure that I am where I need to be. Now, where are you? It's a wildly unique place where you sit right now. You have a completely clean slate, which is at once very exciting and a bit terrifying, I imagine. It's also a fascinating time to be getting into environmental protection, but I'll get to that in a little while. This morning I plan to tell you a few stories from my own experience with the very sincere hope that I leave you with practical advice you can take or leave as you make your own way. So first, on the guaranteed non-linearity of your journey. Woody Allen once said, if you want to make God laugh, tell him about your plans. Which is to say that you can plan all you want, but life is going to happen, and it may or may not take your feelings into account. I moved to Washington, D.C. a few months after graduation. I had literally $12 in my bank account, a dream of a career in environmental policy, and a promise to my roommates that I would make rent by the end of the month. I arrived on Halloween night, and true to Tar Heel form, the house was celebrating accordingly. I pulled into the driveway in a green minivan, and in about 5 minutes, a cow, a cop, Raggedy Ann, and a human guitar were hoisting my belongings onto their shoulders and moving me into my new home. The next day I went door to door with my resume, and I actually took the first job that I was offered, which was a waitressing role in a continental dining establishment around the corner from my house. And that began my career in sustainability. Well, let me explain. The first lesson I learned after school is that if you ever believe yourself to be off track in a role that it feels like it's not getting you to your destination, I'm here to tell you that every experience is significant. Because here's the secret, you Earth lovers. You found your passion. That puts you approximately 81 million miles ahead of almost every one of your fellow citizens of the world. Because so very many out there, they don't know where they want to be. They just know they're not quite happy where they are. But you have found your passion. Hang on to that with a fierceness and don't let go. When I took the waitressing job, I tell you, I learned more about multitasking and diplomacy than any job I've had since. Those transferable skills have been invaluable to me as a sustainability professional. I also got a pretty good recycling program going there. So I took that job and I made it mine. I used it to prepare me for the next one. So every experience you have is getting you closer to your goal. So long as you keep that inner guiding light within view, every experience is an opportunity to make some magic with. And it may be that you find a job in which you learn exactly what you do not want in a job or in a manager. I've had those too. But you learn from those experiences. So what you take away from your experiences is up to you. Just know that your path will not be a straight one, but it won't be dull either. And if it's guided by that deeper voice that has gotten you this far, then you cannot fail. My second word of advice is to embrace the role of translator as you build your career as an environmental professional. As you've begun to find during your years here, you're joining an exceptional community. Our community cannot be defined. Are we scientists? Are we politicians? Are we postdocs, activists, analysts, marketers, zookeepers? Yes, we're all of these things. This field, it crosses industries, sectors, cultures, governments. We are chameleons. But the one thing that we all have in common is that we've been given this ability to translate through your coursework, your student clubs, that late night conversation you had at Cosmic. You've been arming yourselves with the tools that this world is in desperate need of right now. And that is the ability to communicate, to translate. You understand both the science of climate change and also what makes a good story. You know math and bio. I know a little less math than average, perhaps. But you also get the gist of economics and policy. You can visualize the ecosystem that we exist in and connect the dots where many, I would say most, do not see the connections. This is something I cannot stress the value of enough. In my work, it's the 80-20 rule. I spend about 20% of my time working on strategy and 80% of it translating. But the translation is the critical piece. Several weeks ago, I had to make the case to my CEO for a new climate change target for our company. I walked into his office knowing I had about 43 minutes at most to make my case and to earn his approval. But I knew what I was getting into. I had prepared a message that didn't speak to the technical requirements of a science-based carbon target. It didn't address the importance of keeping Earth's temperature below 1.5 degrees Celsius, though we know how important that is. I spoke to him about what our competitors are doing, what industry leadership would look like, how much it would cost. He accepted my proposal. It was one of the proudest moments of my entire life, actually. He signed off on an aggressive and industry-leading commitment because I was able to speak the value of it in his language. In all of the work that you do, always keep in mind who your audience is. Who do you want to bring on board with you to help you change the world? Show them the value in what you are doing with their perspective in mind. So this brings me to my third and final point, which is, class of 2018, the time is now. You are graduating at a pivotal moment in history for the environmental movement. I don't think we have ever seen such a war waged against federal environmental protections at a time where every minute counts for so much. It would be easy for those in our line of work to be discouraged by the news today between all the finger pointing and the denial of science. But guess what? That stuff isn't real. Rather, I should say, it's not relevant to you. And here's why. One of the greatest lessons I learned at another past job in DC is that politics is one platform for environmental management. But there is a whole lot more to this sustainability revolution we're in than what Capitol Hill is up to. And it's growing. There is a big world out there made up of entities of all shapes and sizes, full of people who want to do right, who are beginning to understand the impacts of their actions, and who today are actively seeking guidance on how to apply themselves as vessels for change. There's a concept catching on among sustainable business leaders today. It's this idea of using business to create positive impact. So instead of asking, how do we clean up the mess, we're asking, how can we do the most good? This very critically changes the tone of your conversation. When humans are empowered to use their abilities to do more good and not just less harm, they're inspired. And how do you feel when you're inspired? You're more creative, you're more open-minded, you're certainly much more willing to listen. The conflict I observe in today's news around sustainability seems to derive from a lack of active listening. So here you are, armed with your passion, your world-class education, your readiness for adventure, and your ability to translate fact into a story built for your audience. I need you to take and apply these gifts and these hard-earned skills. It's time to enter the fray. Listen for commonality. Look for shared values that join seemingly different points of view, and work your story for change. This is where we will find the win-win solutions that create lasting change. So to conclude, what my experiences have taught me is that I can make a mark. One of the most fascinating realizations I've come to is that those inspirational classroom posters are actually pretty on point. We are truly limited by our own imaginations, only our own imaginations. So don't ever let anyone tell you that one person cannot change the world. You can change the world. And by the way, you are our hope for the future. And the time is now. So no pressure, class of 2018. But I've got a really good feeling about you. Thank you.
So, thank you, Liza. Beautiful. You almost made me cry. Today, we're here to celebrate the accomplishments of our graduating seniors. Over the past 4 years, these seniors have traveled, performed, conducted research, led service projects, and excelled in business. They have traveled to countries such as Ecuador, Thailand, Germany, Malawi, Singapore, Tanzania, and the Netherlands, just to name a few of the places that they've been. They've participated in summer programs in the Galapagos. They're in the Honors Carolina program. They've done the UNC-CH Surf Research Program. Some of these seniors have sung in acapella groups for 4 years. Some have worked with biochar on renewable energy in Kenya. We have musicians, varsity student athletes in soccer, rowing, students in ROTC, students involved in the Renewable Energy and Special Projects Committee. We'd like to now recognize some of our seniors. Students, when I call your name, please stand to be recognized. I ask the audience to please hold their applause until all of these names have been called. This is our Phi Beta Kappa Honor Society members. Emily Lauren Drake, Emma Marie Bogert, okay. Jessica Reagan Hoffman, there she is. You can stay. Stand. Thank you. Christina Corson, Grace Bowie, Nicole Affleck, Meredith Ratledge, Francis Bruin, Ryan Silk, and Nina Sun. These are our Phi Beta Kappa Honor Society members. We'd also like to recognize the Buckley Public Service Scholars. Jennifer Kraft, Naomi Lettieri, Alexander Mebin, Francis Rulin, Cleo Strabakis, Sarah Wright, Sarah Edwards, Chandler Rusan, and Charlotte Hobson. Our program highlights many of our student achievements and fellowships and awards, and I'd like to congratulate all of these students, and now ask Dr. Amy Cook to come forward to present our awards to the students for excellence in our program.
Hi, everybody. We're very proud of all the many accomplished students gathered here today. This is truly an exceptional group of students, and we had a very difficult time this year trying to decide and select this year's awardees. We're really pleased to recognize a few outstanding students for their excellence in research, scholarship, and in service. When I call your name, I ask that you come forward to receive your certificate. Emerging Scholar Award, given to the students who have demonstrated tremendous potential in their research and scholarly pursuits at Carolina. For this, we'd like to ask Sarah Hudak to come forward for embracing, she left a business degree in her junior year to enthusiastically embrace environmental research in marine science and ecology. She even took 2 capstones, which is pretty unusual. Given to students who have shown exceptional ability to motivate, guide, and organize others towards advancing our understanding of environmental issues. Stephen Lapp. Stephen here is our president of Epsilon Eta Environmental Honor Fraternity, so beginning the end for next step. Students who have risen above and beyond the call of duty to help others and raise awareness of environmental issues. Meredith Ratledge, for her leadership contributions. Meredith, you here? For her leadership contributions to the United Solar Initiative and her role in helping UNC sustainability communicate more effectively. Next, we have our Environmental Research Awards given to students who have done top-tier research which has made an impact on their environmental field. In social science research, we have 2, I don't think Emily's here. The first one is Emily Drake for her research on water stress and conflict severity in Africa. And the second is Brian Vaughn for his research on public life and transportation in cities. Next, for our natural science research, Jessica Hoffman for her research in ecotoxicology and air quality impacts. Frances Royland for her research on energy availability in Malawi. The Environmental Excellence Award is given to a student for excellent scholarship and service to the environmental community. And this is Yina Sun for her work in student government and engagement at UNC. Next year I'm going to send a memo that says, flats, we're flats. And finally, we have a special award this year that's given by the biology department and arrived to us. The LeClaire Award is given to a graduating senior for excellence in botanical science. And this year, the biology faculty has selected one of our students, Patrick Winner. Patrick, would you please come down and accept this award? Welcome Jeff Bell to the podium to honor our honors graduates.
So we would like to now acknowledge those students in our program who earned honors for completing an original research project and writing an honors thesis. This is generally a year-long or more research project where they get to work with an individual faculty member and at the end defend their actual thesis to a committee of faculty members. So as I call your name, please come forward and accept a certificate of your accomplishment. Anna Broadmarkle earned highest honors for her work, Homeowner Perceptions of North Carolina's Sea Rise Policy. Grace Bowie received highest honors for her work, Feasibility, Financing, Campus Sustainability. Bonnie Erdl received highest honors for her work Marine-Free in Salt Marshes and Microplastic Ingestion by Luca Pugelator. Jessica Hoffman received highest honors for her work The Small Molecule Antipsychotic Reperazole potentiates ozone-induced inflammation and airway epithelium. Catherine Krovitz received honors for her work Wave Attenuation in Salt Marshes. Erica Munchie received honors for her work on impact of climate anomalies on food security in Uganda. Frances Worland received highest honors for her work, energy availability in Malawian healthcare facilities, status, and environmental health consequences. Alexander Smith received highest honors for his work, regional comparisons of carbon burial within tidal creek marshes in southeastern North Carolina. Rachel Snyder earned highest honors for her work, A Fish Eat Fish World, Trophic Structure of the Fish Communities on Artificial and Natural Reefs in Onslow Bay, North Carolina. Yina Sun earned highest honors for her work, transmission path flow modeling to inform analysis of power system impacts for wind and hydrological extremes. Brian Vaughn earned honors for his work, public life and transit in the American South. And lastly, Lauren Wegnack received honors for her work understanding golden-winged warbler breeding habitat in western North Carolina using two different data sets, a comparison between models developed from eBird and Audubon data. So congratulations to all our honor graduates.
Well, you can see there's quite a variety of topics and subjects of research that our students conduct, and it is an exemplification of this program, how much variety students find in environmental science. We'd now like to begin the presentation of graduate certificates, starting with our graduate program in ecology. PhD students are officially hooded through the UNC Graduate School by Dr. Dean Steve Madsen. Tomorrow morning, the UNC Chancellor Carol Folt will officially confer your Bachelor of Science or Bachelor of Arts degrees at the UNC commencement ceremony in Kenan Stadium. We would like now to recognize our students who will graduate with an MS that are present here today. So I'd like to ask Molly Jenkins, who earned a Master's of Science in Ecology, and her advisor, Dr. Alan Hurlbert, to come forward. Molly's thesis is the proportion of core species in a community varies with spatial scale and environmental heterogeneity. Congratulations, Molly. We will now present the certificates for our undergraduate environmental program.
If you could please hold your applause to the end. Nicole Elizabeth Affleck. Victor Ada Beckhoff. Rebecca Brickner. Rowan Greer Bishop. Grace Cullen Bowman. Meredith Ann Gozenka. Anna Elizabeth Ron Merkel. Grace Harper Bowie. Maya Maria Burgess. Taylor Marie Coburn. Jennifer Elaine Kraft. Keegan Kennedy Dean. Joshua Amon Dickens. Jarrett Arthur Edwards. Sarah Carson Edwards. Jane Ellen Airwar. John Hartsoe Evans. Courtney Alexa Farge. Kaya Finlay. Madeline Fisher. Christina Juliet Garwood. Eloise Headland. Jessica Nicole Herfer. George Andrew Hogue. Christina Margaret Corzin. Alex Cozen. Evan Louis Albert Kraus. Stephen Michael Lapp. Sydney Michelle Lawrence.
Emma Kate Lehman. Trevor Andrew Levy. Victoria Nicole Marion. Amanda Rose Mulliken. Erica Sharon Munchie. Chandler Jane Newson. Kurt Stephen Nelson. Lydia Carlisle Odom. Eric James Schwartz. Aditya Shetty. Whitney Mariah Shreve. Lauren Rachel Smith. Mark Dalton Stansel. Brian Allen Vaughn. Sarah Kylie Watson. Elizabeth Lawson Wright. Grace Cooney Allen. And our last graduate was the beginning of the Bachelor of Science. Caitlin Ave Lalamont. Brittany Alexander Boparas. Amelia Jane Barber. Gabrielle Corinne Boudry.
Yes, Gabrielle!
Amaya Gren Bravo France. Bonnie Marie Ertel. Paris Remy Evans. Lauren Everidge. Bianca Marie Gardner. Robert Morris Griffin Gurley. Luke Allen Griffin. Danny J. Hodge. Jessica Reagan Hoffman. Charlotte Marie Hobson. Sarah Hudak. Andrew Daniel Jacober. Alexa Leanne Kennedy. Ashley Jordan Perry. Rachel Miller Kleiman. Catherine Elizabeth Crowitz. Catherine Victoria Lane. Gloria Liu. Elena Leanne Loken. Mark William McGuire. Alexander Murphy Mevin. Andy Madeline Bigden. Haley Allison Moser. Meredith Ann Bratledge. Frances Emily Royland. Johanna Elizabeth Schaefer. Hannah Lee Slepp. Alexander J. Smith. Rachel Louise Snyder. Cleo Nicolette Strabakis. Nina Sun. William Jerome Tingen. Abigail Elizabeth Binson. Hannah Pearl West. Lauren Elizabeth Whiteneck. Aaron Maitland Whitmore. Patrick Michael Winner. Sarah Judith Wright. Joseph Young. Diego Emilio Miller Hernandez. And that are all the graduates. If you'd like to give them a round of applause. Quiet. ever had. Degree candidates, I think it's your turn now. I'd like the students to stand and give a big round of applause to those who really made this all possible, your families. You would please. In closing the ceremony this morning, I wanted to thank all of the dedicated faculty and staff who make this program an exceptional place to work. Thank you for all that you do for our students and everything that you do every day in this program. The University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill's Environment Ecology program congratulates these degree candidates on a job well done, and we offer you our best wishes in the future. Come back to visit us in your time. We'd love to hear what you're doing. It was such a pleasure to find out that Liza was on campus earlier this semester, and we jumped at the chance to invite her back for graduation. We invite you to join us at a reception on the front lawn. Hopefully it's not too hot. Graduates, it's also our tradition to get a large group shot of everyone, a picture of the graduates before you all disperse into your future lives. So if you please, when everyone exits, if you would go toward Venable Murray, I think that's appropriate since that's where we live, and give us just a moment of your time so we can take a group photo. And then we'll set you free for the rest of your lives. This concludes our graduation recognition ceremony. Best of luck for your future, and thank you for joining us.